When you deploy your Lambda code, you may run into an issue where you forget to include some dependencies, or you may run out of room for those dependencies given the zip file requirements. So today we're going to be covering those exact situations and how you can overcome them, and even what shared layers are in Lambdas. So let's go ahead and take a look and dive right into that.
The exam question for this topic is that we have a developer testing an application locally, and he has deployed the application to an AWS Lambda function. To avoid exceeding the deployment package size quota, the developer did not include the dependencies in the development file. When the developer tests the application remotely, the Lambda obviously fails and does not run because of these missing dependencies. Which of the solutions could we use to resolve this issue? First, we can use the Lambda console editor to update the code and include any missing dependencies. We can create an additional zip file that contains the missing dependencies and include the zip file in the original Lambda deployment package. We can add references to the missing dependencies in the Lambda's functions environment variables. Or we create a layer that contains the missing dependencies and attach the layer to the Lambda function. Out of these four options, the best that would help us out is D, to create the layer that has the missing dependencies and attach it to the Lambda function. So you can do this by configuring an AWS function to pull the additional code and content in the form of layers. And a layer is simply a zip file that archives and contains libraries such as custom runtimes or other dependencies that are required for the Lambda function. With layers, you can use libraries in the Lambda function without needing to include the libraries in the deployment package. It's a great way to get around the limit size when you first deploy. The reason that A doesn't work is that this option would require the developer to redeploy the Lambda function, which we're not looking for. The second option didn't work because the Lambda deployment package size per quota size is not per the zip file. And the final one is that the option will not work because the Lambda's environment variables are not accessible to the code. Let's go ahead and take a look at using Lambda layers and how we can use those out in this situation. This is going to be a demonstration on how to use layers in Lambda. As you can see on screen, I have a Lambda function already created. If you take a look here, it's using the import statements for JSON and requests. Now requests are not supported default in Lambda, so we would need to import it and include the libraries. If we go ahead and try to test it, you'll see that it fails with the fact that it can't import the request module. So let's take a look at creating a layer with those requests. So go ahead and pull up your layer. So what you see here is I've already created through pip and set up the requests for import. It's going to be here in the zip file called Python. So let's go ahead and go into our layers. We're going to create a new layer. Let's go ahead and name it here. Just going to go ahead and call it demo layer. And upload the zip file. For mine, I used x86 as the architecture. And I used Python 3.9. So go ahead and select those. Scroll down. And create. Now we've created our layer, we need to attach it to our Lambda now. So let's go back into the Lambda. Make sure we're looking at the request. So we're going to scroll up into layers, which actually takes us down. I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to choose a custom layer and choose the demo layer we created. There's only one version, so that makes that easy. And we've added it. It takes just a second here. Now let's go ahead and test it out. So go into our test here and run it. And we'll see we get the 200 from the request library. So it shows that it was successful. This demonstrates how to import the request library as well as other layers. Alright, that's everything. Let us know any questions you have below.